All right. Well, I'm here with Jeremy and John Gransky. They are the leaders of At Home Veterinary, a veterinary care practice in Boston, Massachusetts, in the greater Boston area of Massachusetts. And we just completed a majority recapitalization for them of their practice with the help of SDR. So we wanted to connect with them and get a little bit of feedback from our former clients on what it was like to work with SDR. So with that, I'll jump into some of the questions. We often find in our experience working with previous clients that they don't know what they don't know when it comes to M&A and when it comes to transactions in the deal world. So what we often like to ask folks is, what most surprised you about the process, and what advice would you communicate to, business owners that are considering selling their business or recapitalizing their business for the first time?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I think it was wonderful working with SDR. I was surprised going into it at how long the process was and how data intensive it was. And I felt like I was in really good hands with the guide telling us at each step of the way what to expect, what information to have ready, and what to prepare for in the coming weeks and months.
Yeah, it's true. There was a really clear outline of all of the steps that were going to happen, and I was surprised by how detailed the process was. There are so many aspects of it that I feel like we would have been ill-equipped to try to tackle on our own, and so it's super helpful to have SDR helping us.
Correct.
Fantastic, fantastic.
Yeah,
Go
and
ahead,
I would
John.
add,
Sorry.
yeah, I would add, our primary business is veterinary medicine. It's not selling a business, and so we have no familiarity with that whole process. So, if nothing else, it's just nice to know that we're not missing anything. That we're not stepping into something that we don't understand, because we have somebody who's there walking us through the whole process.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That's great to hear. And kind of along that vein and following that thread, where did you most notice kind of the impact of utilizing an M&A advisor along the route? You mentioned that you guys your primary business is obviously focused on veterinary medicine, certainly not focused on transactions or M&A. So where did you most feel like our guidance was helpful at what stages of the process?
Yeah, I mean, I think at so many stages, it was super helpful to have you guys working on our behalf. I mean, there are many of the things that I think that we could have figured out how to do, but we would have had to invest so much time in that process. Just, for example, the very beginning of the process, trying to figure out what other companies might be interested in buying our company or partnering with us. We could have done that market research, and we could have, tried to reach out to all of those companies, and that would have taken so much of our time, and I'm sure we wouldn't have done as good a job as SDR did, being familiar with the industry, from the start and having gone through, a process like this before. This is our one and only transaction, and yeah, it would have been so much work for us to do it without you guys.
Yeah, I agree. I think we were really floored with the way the SDR packaged our practice into this really detailed document to share with potential buyers. And I feel like they did a fantastic job of capturing who we are and what our business is, and why it might appeal to a number of different buyers.
Yeah, and I think for most business owners, I mean, you're so used to working in your field, but you're certainly not um, good at or comfortable with tooting your own horn. And so, for SDR to kind of package what our practice had to offer and to highlight all of the positives, um, that was that was so much easier than having to try to, build yourself up and put yourself out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know that, for you guys specifically, but also for almost all business owners, it comes down to much more than just the consideration for the business, right? There are other things that you have to evaluate in that process, like legacy, fit, those types of things. And hopefully we were able to, find a strategic partner for you guys that met not just the consideration requirements, but also some of those fit and strategic pieces, right? That's what we'd like to prioritize as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree. And I think SDR was a really fantastic choice because you have um, industries that you are familiar with, but you don't focus on just one thing. You're not looking for just a cookie cutter sale one after another. I really felt like you took the time to understand who we are as a practice individually and get a sense of who would make the best partner for our practice in terms of selling to a partner. So that level of attention was really came through, and I really appreciated that rather than feeling like we were just being handled by a broker who does this same transaction day after day after day.
Fantastic. Well, last question I have for you guys. If a business owner were evaluating SDR as an option to help him or her with some kind of M&A transaction, and they asked you to describe, your experience working with us as a firm, what jumps out to you guys? What would you say to them in that type of interaction?
Yeah, well, I feel like we kind of took a risk in working with SDR in that SDR approached us spontaneously and were, always really skeptical about who somebody is if they're reaching out to you. And so when that happened, we compared SDR against a couple of other big players in the field and really carefully evaluated what each group was bringing to the table. And I'm so glad that we chose SDR. I just felt like we were very well cared for throughout the whole process. You guys were super responsive at every step of the way. I never felt like we were not getting answers in a timely fashion. And everybody was just really, really easy to work with.
Yeah, I feel like choosing SDR felt like an investment. It was an undertaking that we had to think about seriously before going forward with it. But I am so glad that we did, because I felt that SDR was there for us anytime we needed them. They were very responsive, very professional. And throughout what ended up being a very long process from our perspective, they were there every step of the way and really showed up and did fantastic work throughout the whole process.
And I know that we mentioned the length of the process a couple of times, but you guys were always there to move the ball forward. So, we never felt like SDR was slowing down the process. It's so complicated, and there are so many steps in these deals that it takes some time.
Yeah. And I guess
Yeah.
I would like to add that it was really wonderful throughout the negotiations. Once we got to the point of identifying a couple of companies that we might want to partner with, it was really fantastic to have SDR go to bat for us so that we could have a friendly relationship with all of these companies. And if there was anything that needed to be negotiated with a firmer hand, that it was wonderful that SDR was doing that on our behalf, and we could remain the good guys in the process.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I often think about that, and I've never had an issue with, being that guy. That's definitely our role. And the more we can insulate you guys from difficult negotiations and conversations with buyers where, they're asking you repetitive questions, the more we can take those things off of your shoulders, the more you can focus on, running your practice and expanding and executing on growth initiatives and doing what you've got to do to, provide the excellent level of care and service that you guys always do. So the goal is always to not create a second job, and hopefully, obviously we need your input and your help throughout, but hopefully we can alleviate a lot of that pressure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for the kind words and for all the wonderful things that you guys said about our firm, about SDR Ventures, and about the process that we ran. I would like to highlight that you guys were fantastic clients to work with. It definitely goes both ways, and we treat these engagements like relationships, right? And so it's important that you guys are invested and bought in and supporting the process on your end as well. Obviously, we want to do everything we can to take as much off your shoulders as we can, but you guys were phenomenal throughout the entire process and providing us information and explaining really what you guys saw as the key value drivers in your business and what you think the best type of acquirer or strategic partner might look like. So definitely want to compliment you guys on all the work that you've done as well, and we're gonna think fondly on this process.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah,
as are
likewise.
we. And, you know, I know we've said it before, but if you have any other veterinary practices who are considering working with you, we'd be more than happy to talk to them and tell them, you know, what our experience was.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All
Yeah,
right. Well,
well, I want to add, you know, I've talked about SDR as a firm, and I think it was really meaningful to work directly with you, Sasha, and with Isaac. You know, you were our main points of contact. You were the ones driving the whole transaction, and we couldn't have done it without you. And so all of the work that you individually and Isaac individually put into us and our practice and the sale really paid off. So thank you.
Yeah.
of course, yeah. Well, thank you guys very much for the kind words. It means a lot. You know, we definitely take these transactions very seriously and very personally, and want to be on your side and feel like we're on the same team the whole way. So I'm glad that we were able to deliver on that promise, and really appreciate you taking the time to, you know, answer some of our questions after working with us for a few months.
Sure.
Yeah.
Our pleasure.